Oh shit, I forgot. Oh, we're live. Hey everybody, welcome to the show. If you're here, we love you. Just like if you go to Costco. Uh, Welcome to Costco. We love you. Isn't that what that is? Anybody ever seen Idiocracy?
Oh yeah.
Uh, if you're here tonight, we are talking about The Conjuring and The Conjuring 2. And I don't know that we ever need to do an Annabelle show. We can touch on those if you'd like, or The Nun, which I found incredibly boring. Uh, Curious to know what other people think about The Nun. I thought it was incredibly boring myself, but I saw on Nathan's page one of his friends said it reminded him of a Fulci movie, which is like, huh, maybe I should give it another look see. But the Conjuring movies are really good, right? So let's introduce the gang. We've got Jared tonight. How you doing, buddy?
Good. Good evening, guys.
Long time no see. Uh, Seth. Seth is my heart tonight wearing a Freddy shirt. And then we got Nathan Thomas Milliner, who is wearing stolen art on his shirt. What's up? What's up, everybody? Welcome to the show. How's everybody living today on this fine day?
Glad to be off work.
Glad to be at work. What a generic answer. Anyway, so The Conjuring, 2013. The Conjuring came out. It was you know what? When I saw it, it was one of the first movies in years that made me feel very uncomfortable. Now I think Seth, you are the exception. You're not a big fan of these. Am I wrong?
Right. You're right.
Why?
I would put it down to they're just not my thing. I think they're incredibly well directed movies with great cinematography and great acting, and they're very effective in certain moments. You know, I really like the scene in the bedroom with the girls say that there's someone behind the door. I thought that was really cool. But for these movies, they're good, but I'm not as invested in them as you guys maybe. You know, I don't think they're ones that I'll go back to watching for at least another couple of years. But they're good movies, and I'm glad I've seen them. But
So you're not a big ghost haunted house type of fan, or
no. There's some exceptions, but those
what are the
Ghost and
exceptions?
Possession are, you know, like The Shining. As far as Ghost, as far as Possession, you know, like Evil Dead and stuff like that. And also for those Stir of Echoes, but
That's a good movie. Nate, what about you? What are some of your thoughts when you initially saw the movie, the first one?
I loved it. I had read the Warren's book, The Demonologist, back in the 90s.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Wow.
So I was familiar with them. So a film about them was really interesting, whether it's real or not, you know.
You're right.
I kind of separated because like the real life Ed and Lorraine are kind of like they're probably full of shit and scammers. Most of the stuff's fake, but I like to just treat them as I like the fictional versions of them very, very much.
Yeah, I do too.
I think they're great, and Vera and Patrick are awesome. And I like how they're represented in the film. But I remember seeing The Conjuring and being really moved by that finale when she's possessed and the three of them are on all three sides of her, and you know, Ed's saying, you know, by the power of God, I continue to hell Bathsheba, and when she's got her hand on top of her head and saying, "Remember that day, you know, remember what you're leaving behind." I just remember being moved by that to like tears when I got in the parking lot, like this
Really?
power of being, you know, her love for her family was what conquered that demon, and it all just hit me. I guess the way it was all choreographed together and cut together, and the music and the. So I was really quite moved by it, and I think I don't know about the Nun. I didn't like the Nun, but like the first two Annabelle movies and the first two Conjuring movies to me are four of the scariest films I've seen in the theater in a long, long, long time. I loved going to see those movies because I felt it. I felt the energy in the room, in the theater, people screaming, the quietness, the tension. I think they're very pitch perfect, effective, scary films. And I don't really get that a lot. I don't really see a lot of scary movies. And some people are like, "Oh, that's bullshit. They're not scary." Well, I know when the recipe is working, and James Wan has a recipe and it works, and he knows what he's doing.
Yeah, James Wan can do no wrong in my eyes at this, but so far,
Yeah.
and he knocked it out with this one. I think I agree with you on especially with the Warrens because I've seen interviews with them before. Like there's a great Amityville documentary I saw years ago. They're very unlikable people, in my opinion. From interviews I've seen and things I've read about them, they're extremely unlikable. But Patrick Wilson is phenomenal in almost everything I've ever seen him in. And then I can see why James Wan likes to go back to him constantly. And then Vera, however you say her last name, she's stupendous in the role. But yeah, the Annabelle movies are okay. I think the first one is okay. The second one's really good, and the third one was okay. I did say the Nun's kind of boring, but the Conjuring movies are chef's kiss, both of them. Jared, let's hear your thoughts. Yeah, I just don't know how to pronounce it, Scott. I don't like butchering names.
I'm kind of in the league with Seth where these type of movies aren't in my wheelhouse, but the first one really did have a really good effect on me based off of just the kind of like you were saying, the execution of all the scares and the way it was presented where it was all very fantastic.
Yeah.
James Wan's a really good director. Like Nate was saying,
he's a great director. Go ahead.
Like Nate was saying, the ending exorcism, scene, that's, if you don't find yourself invested in the movie by the time that part starts, I mean, I don't know what you were watching, really.
Yeah.
But yeah, as far as the first one goes, I really, really enjoyed it.
That's one of the things about James Wan that he does very well, and it goes on his early work. He's really good at making you care about the characters, and not just the Warrens, but the family in the first movie whose name escapes me again. Just watched it, but I can't remember their names. But you really like with all the daughters, the mom Lily. She showed up in High Fidelity. It's like her. Come on, Rob, you dated her, but. And I think it's because of The Haunting. That movie was so terrible, and her performance as Nell or whatever her name was so bad that I really never grown to like her. But I liked her in this quite a bit, and her character arc is really, really interesting in this movie. Plus, you got Peter from Office Space in the movie, and he's always likable regardless. So, that's a big thing for me. I think we've talked about that before about how I want to care about characters. I want to be invested. That's why Friday the 13th movies are just okay because you don't need to get invested in these characters. But these characters in this movie, and even the family in the second movie, with the girl who, it could be a hoax, it could not be. Anyway, I think it was a hoax. Just saying. But anyway, yeah, I was really invested in characters, and I like that the movies are following the Warrens and I mean very fictional versions of them. But I like that because each movie you get to care about each one of them more and more. I'm really looking forward to the next one. I'm really debating on seeing it in the theater because I regret not seeing the first and second in the theater because these feel more like theatrical movies, old school scare movies that do have an effect on certain people. Not Seth because he's a hard ass, but other people. Anyway, what do we got here? I enjoy these movies, but it depends on my mood. They aren't high on my priority list. I wonder if there's a thing going where maybe horror, like the ghost haunted house type movies, are kind of not hitting as well with people.
I don't know, because that's always been the only films that worked on me as far as scares, like The Shining and Poltergeist and The Entity and things like that were the only movies that bothered me. I don't know if because I was raised Christian or what it is, but I don't know, they just work. I mean, I like a good scary movie, and these movies, actually, I get excited to go see them. And I think this movie, like the first movie, reminded me of those films. I guess because it's set in the 70s. The casting, like the little girl looks like she might as well be Drew Barrymore, the little blonde girl. it's like James Wan and I are the same age, and I think there's so many things that I think he captured Poltergeist and Amityville and all that in it. Even to like, I even noticed something today in Conjuring 2 where he puts the Zoetrope on the shelf in his room of collectibles. Did anyone notice the skull that he moves to put it down?
No.
It's the skull from Vice Versa, the Fred Savage.
Oh my God, is it really?
Yes.
Oh, that's awesome.
I haven't seen that movie in years.
I love that movie. I showed that to the kids recently. They loved it. That's such a fun movie.
Yeah, go back at
Talk
the
about
very
that
end where
instead.
he's putting it in the room, the Zoetrope, where he moves the Annabelle back there. It's right there on the left screen.
Damn, I'm gonna have to look for that. Yeah, I'm sure that room is so full of Easter eggs too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't really pay that much attention to the room because my eyes are usually drawn to one thing or another when they go in there. Luke Hardman says that's awesome. That is awesome. Vice versa. Nobody gets to hear about that movie anymore. You know, I love that movie. Is that Judge Reinhold's finest role?
Yeah. Well, that and Billy from Beverly Hills, I'd say.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Gerald in Gremlins, he's a douche in that. Very small role, but he's really good at that. He's really good at being a douche. But yeah, I didn't have to look at that. That's maybe I will next time I watch it. Stop when they're in that room and see if there's anything else you can kind of pick out. I'm sure there's a YouTube video, 10,000 things you missed when watching The Shining or the Conjuring. Yeah. Oh, by the way, I want to watch The Shining. This made me. I was watching. I was like, man, I want to watch The Shining really bad now. I don't know.
This movie, the scares that they set up in both films, like Seth was mentioning, which is one of probably my favorite scene in all of them. The scene with Nancy and Christine, I think it is, in their bedroom, where she's pulled and then she's pointing behind the door, and it's something's in that behind the door.
Yeah,
there's no effects, like it's there, like it's just someone. It's the way you're filming it, and it's her, what she's saying. It's looking right at us, like she's terrified. The little girl gives a hell of a performance in that scene. Right by her fear, and when she walks over there and she's like, "It's standing! Oh my God, it's standing right behind you." That shit's scary. Like it's a genuinely scary scene, and like the scene in the sequel where with the tent and the little fire engine coming out, or even like in Annabelle Creation with the pop gun scene, was really good. Everybody shoots the pop gun out, and it's pulling it back in, and it's stuck, and it won't come, and it gets pulled, and she runs up on the bump bed.
Oh yeah,
top, and you hear the footsteps, and something jumps in the bed underneath her.
Yeah, I mean, I've only seen that movie once.
The stuff, and then just the clapping and all the clap stuff in this movie, and like it's so effective and so well done. And that's something that he also does is he sets up everything that happens. He sets up in the film while we're going, so that we know the geography of the house. We know callbacks. There's all kinds of setups and callbacks. Like even her having the matches on the steps where Ron Livingston left them when they first discovered the basement. He leaves them there to investigate in the morning. So when she gets in there and the ball comes out, she runs up there and the lights go out. She has those matches there to light. He's constantly giving us that. The clap game what he does is he introduces these things that are safe to us, and then he introduces danger to them. So every time we see that wardrobe, we know that there's danger there now. Anytime we see that, especially in the second film where he sets up the tent, he sets up the basement, he sets up all this. So when Ed has to go through the basement up through the house to get to the little girl, what's her name, Janet, we know he's going through all like this obstacle course of dangerous places in that house to get through, to go through the crooked man, to go through all these other things. So these should be taught. As far as I know, some people may not like them, may not be their thing, but filmmaking wise, writing wise, structure wise, they are so on it. Like there's like a method and everything's covered. Like there's nothing to just pull out of your ass. It's all set up. Even like one of my favorite things was Valak in the second one, where her name appears, or the demon's name appears in the house, the Warren house. There's a part where she's at her kitchen table, and in the back there's a heart that says love, and the V is really big, and then Alec is written there for some reason, and like over here there's something that says Valak, and in the bookshelf where her daughter's first sees the nun, on the bookshelf there's these decorative letters, and one's a V down here on this leg, A-L-A-K. The name Valak's hidden throughout that movie, and there's little things like that the whole time that he's setting up and thinking about, and I don't know. I just every time I watch it, I'm like, damn, like it's just really good filmmaking. Like I say, it's like this guy. It took The Conjuring to make me a James Wan fan. It really did. Like I was not a huge fan until that movie.
What did he do before that, other than Saw?
He did Dead Silence.
Dead Silence wasn't as bad as everybody says it is.
Death Sentence.
Death Sentence.
And I think Conjuring was his fourth film. And he's dedicated to these films to the point I didn't know that after he did the Fast and the Furious movie, the studio offered him a shitload of money, more money he'd ever made ever, and he passed on it to do Conjuring 2 because he really wanted to do it, missed that world and missed Patrick and Vera, and so he gave up a whole lot of money to do the second one.
I didn't know that. Give me 1 second. Okay. I had to turn my mic off to clear my throat. Sorry. Yeah, obviously you're noticing a lot more stuff than I am. I guess I watch it more as a casual viewer whenever I watch it. Yeah, Dead Silence is better than what people say. I've never seen Silence. Excuse me. I've never seen Death Sentence. I'll have to look for that one.
You should. That's a good one.
Kevin Bacon revenge film.
Ooh.
Yep.
Love Bacon.
Yeah.
Just watched a movie with him the other day. Showed my kid. It's called Whitewater Summer. You ever see that?
Oh, that's great. Yeah.
Yeah, that's one I watched when I was a kid all the time.
That's isn't that Don Coscarelli movie? Or no? I'm thinking of the other one. The one Lance Henriksen starred in, that more survivalist group.
Oh, I don't know that.
Survival Quest.
Yeah, Survival Quest. That's what I'm thinking of. Because Whitewater is the one with Meryl Streep, right? Kevin Bacon. No,
the Whitewater Summers. It's what's his name from the Goonies? Mikey, Sean Astin. And he takes them camping and kayaking.
I'm getting 3 movies mixed up.
That's because Kevin Bacon's in almost everything.
It's a 6 degrees of separation.
I think you're thinking of the River Wild.
That's it. Yeah, I've seen all 3, but I'm getting them mixed up.
Anyway, The Conjuring. So, Seth, you did like these movies though, and Jared, you did enjoy them. What were some of the things you did like? I asked both of you at the same time, so go ahead and answer and talk over each other because that should be.
Go ahead.
You guys really don't like this movie that much?
I liked the first one quite a bit.
Not the second one.
We haven't gotten to that yet, but as far as like certain things that I really liked about it, like the little girl that was sleepwalking, had an interesting effect on me because that's a legit fear of mine. Is not, I've never done it personally, but if you have that kind of a problem, that's kind of, like I've seen I don't know how much of it's real, but there's this lady on TikTok that sleepwalks and like walks outside and shit and like will start throwing stuff around, trying to make stuff in the kitchen. Like, what the hell is going on? Like that idea alone kind of freaks me out.
And Step Brothers and
yeah, and that's why I kind of thought some of that might have been bullshit because yes, that it does remind me of Step Brothers. But that whole sequence where she goes up the stairs and the cameras are going off as she's going up the stairs, and then she disappears into the wardrobe. That was a very effective scene, I thought.
Someone's with her because the cameras go off because it's cold. So it's not her; it's a ghost with her. Which that's just a really cool thing, the ghost attached to you thing. Because I remember like the first time I saw the movie, I was like, wow, Lorraine's really weird. Because when she first meets the family, her performance, like she has these weird tics, and I'm like, she's just awkward. But in hindsight, I realized, when she walks in, she sees the demon behind them. That's why she's looking at them so weird. Like she's seeing something they don't see. If you go back and watch it, it's like, whoa, like it's there. She's reacting to the demon that she sees immediately. She realizes that's the other thing. Like the movie sets up the skepticism, and like right before they go to this house, they go to a house where they debunk it, and they say most of the time it's not. Most of the time it's science. We can explain it. They're not real hauntings.
Mhm.
So, it kind of gives you both sides of it. Like The Exorcist. That's what I always liked about The Exorcist, where they attack the science and the mental health options. And once they say, well, look, we can't help you, go to the church. There's almost a little bit of that in part 2, where that comic relief of when the cops go there and the chair moves and they cut straight to it's like a comedy cut. You cut right to them walking out. Yeah, we can't help you.
Yeah.
This is beyond us. You may need to get in the church. Which that another thing about that shot, the chair scene with the cops, just something that James does. I noticed in the films, he does a lot of oneers. That whole shot's in a oneer, so there's no cuts. The cops go in there, they grab the chair, they drag it from the kitchen into the hallway. The cop gets up on top of it. Then she gets down of it. The chair moves and goes back into the room. All that's in one shot. And it's practical because James doesn't use CG unless he has to.
Mm.
So a lot of this is all in camera, just like the Crooked Man is Javier Botet from Wreck and It. And that's not a CGI character. That's a real man doing that stuff. Which, a lot of modern horror gets attacked for it. I'm sure a lot of people attack these movies for CG, but even when the Crooked Man's going through the wall and the roof, and remember at the end where he's fighting Ed, a lot of that was practical. I think the only thing digital were the cracks in the walls and roof, but all the debris exploding was on set in the shot, and him being over there.
And even the Crooked Man himself was practical. That was a dude in a suit. That's one of the creepiest things about him.
Yeah. Which he's always confused for, like, people. He played the. I'm getting a lot of feedback here. Anybody else? Even the leper and It was him, I believe.
Yeah.
And the main. I know you haven't seen Wreck, but that's where I first saw him. He's the source of the evil, I guess, and Wreck.
The source of the outbreak. I don't know. I don't want to get. Don't spoil it.
I'm not gonna spoil it.
I'm supposed to watch it while I was on vacation and never got the chance.
Yes, you need to get on those movies, Ray.
But like the Wonders, the other one is like when we first meet the parents. James shows us every character, who they are, and the geography of the house, because geography is really important in a haunted house, where you know the rooms, you know the places you're going. So when they're moving in, it follows them in the door. The daughter goes under the guys holding the couch. Camera goes with them, goes into the house, goes through all the rooms, meeting all the family, interactions.
Oh yeah, right when they're moving in. Yeah.
Yeah, it goes all the way out to the porch where she hangs the thing, and then it cuts to the girl at the tree, which is the source of everything, really. That tree down there with that music box. Where
the witch or whatever, she was a witch, right? That hung herself or whatever.
Yeah.
Which was really cool.
Bathsheba.
Yeah, there was some cool visuals with her in the window, and the scene where the sheet flies and hits that was so messed up. I was like, whoa.
That was so fucking cool.
Yeah, I didn't expect really that cool. One bit. Yeah, it was a really cool effect. And then then it flies up and hits the house, right? And she's in the window. Hits
the window, and the little girl's standing up in the window, looking at her.
Yeah.
And then walks out. Yeah, again, he knows. James Wan knows how to move a camera. I mean, just look at that opening fight in Aquaman. I mean, it's one of the coolest fight scenes I've seen in a while. Of that Nicole Kidman fight scene.
Yeah, he God, I don't know what's going on in my throat. Give me 1 second again. I'm fine. There's nothing wrong with me. I just it's Flim City over here for some reason. Yeah, I didn't. I never thought about that, but you're right. He really does know how to move a camera, because that scene that's a 1 or 2, right? Hits the sheet, hits the whatever. I guess it's first on a green screen or whatever, and then that's all one shot too. But I like the scene right by the lake where you can see the feet of the lady. The whatever, what is she called again?
Bathsheba. I'm not the
Yeah.
only one getting that humming, am I?
I don't know. Hold on. Let me.
Mhm.
I don't know where it's coming from.
It's
Is it
not
coming from
mine.
me?
You muted my mic.
Let me mute mine. Does it come from me? Is it coming from me? Is that why I have a fan on? I wonder if that's. Nope, not me. What is that?
Ooh.
The ghost.
Yeah, we're talking about ghosts. Here we go. We got a ghost
There
rubbing
we
its
go.
balls on somebody's microphone.
It's gone. What happened?
Maybe it is coming from me.
Now it's back. There it is. Oh,
It must be my air conditioner outside.
Oh, I thought it was a ghost. Let's keep it as a ghost.
Science.
Science. Yeah, there we go. Any good movie, you got both sides of it. But yeah, so I don't know. I'm. What are some of the complaints that people have with The Conjuring? Because I was looking at while we were talking just now. I was looking at like we talked about Rotten Tomatoes the other day and stuff like that, and it's got a decent score on Rotten Tomatoes. No, it doesn't. It's 66%. Oh, that's the new one. Hold on. Damn
I was
it.
gonna say, I think the first one's 86 and the second one's like 80. They're both rated pretty well.
Yeah, the new one's
people.
66%.
I think people just generally dismiss mainstream popular films.
Is it? You think it has anything to do with jump scares and stuff
Yeah,
like that? You
I was
know,
gonna bring up the jump scare thing because
please do.
these movies get attacked for that. And the truth is, I was trying to count it, and there's about 12 in each movie per movie that are actual jump scares. But the problem with jump scares have been used forever. The problem with jump scares is when they're false scares, when there's no danger there. But James doesn't do that. Every time there's a fucking jump scare, it's something. It's part of a scare sequence. They're jumping at something frightening, and it doesn't let you off. It's not like a cat jumping out or some bullshit like
Right.
that. It's not a
Right.
friend in the mirror going, "Hey, what are you doing?" You know, it's none of that shit. They're not cheap scares. They're part of the horror sequence. They are real, actual scares, and they're not the kind of scares that are cheap and just funhouse where you're laughing after because after the jump scares happen, more shit's still there happening.
Yeah.
It's not you're in the middle of the scene, not at the end, and then it's over and all we can all relax. So they're calculated, effective jump scares. I mean, people want to attack jump scares. Everybody on this fucking group loves Evil Dead. Evil Dead 2. Evil Dead 2 has 27 jump scares in it. All right, so
Is it really?
yes, there's a site.
Wow.
There's a site that counts off jump scares, and
That's quite a
Evil
bit.
Dead 2 has like the most. But because he's using them for real, you know, they're the gags that Sam Raimi does. You know, there's a purpose to them. But the jump scare, the bullshit jump scare is again the classic. Oh, it's just a cat. Oh, it's just my friend in the mirror. Oh, it's just that kind of shit. But the jump scare is just one tool that filmmakers are always using. I mean,
Yeah.
and even movies that don't have them, people shit on them. Like The Witch has no jump scares. I don't.
Well,
think.
it's funny.
Like that.
I just googled jump scares in movies and it says what to watch: Sinister, The Conjuring, It Follows, The Witch, Lights Out, Hereditary, The Nun. Those are the recommended movies that come up immediately. It's like The Witch. I don't know. I don't remember that. The only thing that ever made me jump in The Witch was the towards the end with Black Phillip ramming the father. I was like, whoa! I didn't expect that. That's about it.
As long as they're paying off, which they do, you know, like Nightmare on Elm Street has jump scares. Halloween has.
You're talking
tons
about?
of
Are you
fucking
talking about
jump
where'sthejump.com? Is that the
Yeah.
site? Yeah. No, yeah. Nightmare on Elm Street has one of the best, in my opinion. When Nancy wakes up and Freddy jumps out from the side of her bed, I remember the first time I saw that jumping when that happened. I think my head hit the ceiling.
Halloween is full of jump scares and stingers. You know, John throwing that stinger in the soundtrack. I mean, it's ding, all this stuff. They are part of horror film making, and for some reason, I mean, there are some who really abuse it and just boom, 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 boom without any fucking reason. James isn't that filmmaker.
Halloween has 13 jump scares. Jump scares. It says, "Oh, I'm going to use this website a lot. Thanks a lot." What's this? I agree about the Conjuring. I don't remember the Conjuring 2 having a lot of noises. I mean, the creepiest sequences in. Did you think Sinister was scarier than the Conjuring? No. The one thing that Sinister had going for it, in my opinion, were the videos. To two things: the videos and the negative space when he's like doing his research. That was great in Sinister because you never knew what was if there was something going to come out of the negative space. I love that. Which movie you left the theater during The Conjuring?
You know, poltergeist movies have bangs and knocks and shit. That's what's gonna happen. You know, I don't know.
I don't mind them. They never bothered me. I mean, as long as they're well placed, and like you said, like I think the joke jump scare, like you said, is the problem that happened a lot. I mean, even that Ghostbusters movie from 2016 did that joke jump scare thing quite a bit. So Paul left the theater mad after Conjuring 2. Why? I like the Conjuring. The one thing I liked about the second movie was whether or not it was legit or real. Like, I mean, even reading about the case afterwards, because one of my favorite things is the photo montages of the actual family and stuff at the end, and you see you can see the side by side picture of the girl being levitated or jumping. She looks like she's jumping. Really,
looks like she's jumping.
Yeah, it looks like she's at a fucking metal concert jumping off stage. Is what it looks like.
And Ed says it in the movie, like, hey, she looks like she's jumping. You know, she looks like, she's not levitating.
No, not at all. Yeah. I mean, her legs are, but like, I don't know. The one thing that got me in that movie was the old man in the chair, which was mentioned earlier. Like that scene where she's got the water in her mouth and all that stuff. And I don't know. That's one of the things I'm a fence rider when it comes to paranormal. I don't know where you guys sit. But like even watching these movies that are based on a true story, like I always like try to wonder, and I read about them. Amityville was one for a long time because that was the big one for me. Is it real or is it fake? Obviously, it's fake because there's people been living there without any incidents over the last 40 years. But
I think sometimes it matters on who the person living there is, because I've experienced things. The house that I lived in from the time I was 11 to about 20 was haunted. Only I didn't know it. My parents didn't know it. But there were things that would happen that I can't explain, or things I saw here and there. But I had friends who were more sensitive to it.
Mm-hmm.
And they say, your fucking house was haunted. I never told you your house was haunted. They would see shit. After I moved out, they told me. But they only told me once our neighbor ran into my mom at a grocery store. Our ex-neighbor, and she said, "Was your old house haunted?" My mom's like, "Why would you ask us that?" No. And she says, "Why?" And says, "Well, the guy that lives there now says that every night, same time of night, someone calls out his name in the house, and he keeps hearing this voice calling out his name." And so that got me thinking about things that I had seen. I was watching TV one night, saw something white go through the hallway to the kitchen. Now, my mom used to wear a nightgown, and she would get up to get a drink or whatever in the middle of the night. So I figured it was her. So I just got up to go say hi, see she's okay, and there was no one in the kitchen. But I could have swore someone walked through there and went to the kitchen in a white gown.
Yeah.
My sister used to get scared, and she would when she would have nightmares or something, she would go in my parents' bedroom and lay on the floor and sleep there. And one night she woke me up, scared to death, said that there was a man standing at the foot of their bed when she went in there.
Jesus.
And I grabbed my bat, and she said, "Get out." No, get out. So we're creeping out the hall in my room, and we hear something in the room, and we just run. And we run out the door, go to our neighbors. Neighbors call the cops. My parents wake up. Their kids are gone. The front door's open. They're terrified.
How old were you then?
I was probably 12, 13. She was 8 or 9. But, we just figured she was scared. She had a nightmare. She saw something she didn't. But, like, after all this stuff started being revealed, and then my friend said he used to spend the night all the time. We'd watch horror movies, things like that, and he always slept in the couch in the living room facing the TV. He said one night I slept facing the hallway where I had seen something, and he said there was a figure walking down your hallway, and that was the last time I spent the night at your house. And he had experienced shit before, so all these things started connecting the dots. But again, my parents lived there for 12 years and never saw or heard anything. But the next guy moving in says somebody's calling my name every night.
Yeah, and see, that's what I think. To your point, that these movies can affect certain people that kind of believe in that stuff. Also, like I'm on the fence. Like we moved into a house where an old lady just died. They rented the house out. 3 old lady, not bachelors? What do they call old ladies who never get married?
Old maids.
Okay, they're old maids. And one of them died, so they moved to a smaller place. And she lived in my bedroom, and they left. And sometimes I always felt like if they leave something behind, or somebody leaves something behind, things can be tied to an object. She had this extremely old set of encyclopedias, and they were right above my bed. Cool thing was about it, we flipped through every one of them, found like $50 bills here and there. Anyway, but at night, I swear to God, I would hear somebody saying my name coming from down the hall, and I'd go out peek and I wouldn't see anything. And there was one time I spilled some milk, and the house was kind of like on a little bit of a hill, so it was on a decline. I spilled some milk one time. The milk ran in the kitchen floor, and I could see 2 footprints in the milk. But I mean, that could have been from the, I don't know. I tried to say maybe it's because somebody was standing there for a long time. It's like greasy feet or some shit. I don't know. So I don't know. I try to explain things. And Seth, Jared, is that something with you guys? Are you guys not like believers in the paranormal? Is that maybe why these movies don't have the effect on you as much? Or Steph, you answer.
It's very possible. I'm,
Yeah.
you know, I'm open to this. You know,
Yeah.
I'm open to the idea of this type of stuff, but I'm not necessarily a believer. So,
So I think that could affect the way people feel about any of these paranormal type of movies with hauntings and stuff. Because I'm a fence rider.
I don't know if it has an effect on it though, because I mean I don't believe in werewolves, but I love werewolf movies.
You know what? Well, first of all, I call bullshit. That's different. I feel like monster movies. I feel like I guess it's the same thing. I mean, I don't want to get into the way I think because I think differently than everybody. I don't think of werewolves in his mythical creatures as something like that, like vampires and shit. I mean, they're obviously not realistic, but there's ghosts could be real. I don't think werewolves could ever be real. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong.
I think it's just it's an energy thing, and I mean I just think that my new movie focuses a lot on a lot of these things, and there's a character who says, and it's true. There's just a lot of stuff we don't know about, we're not aware of. I mean, they're just now telling us, hey, there are UFOs, guys. We see them all the time. Like the jig's up. Like there are things that we don't know about, and our minds are also so powerful and so capable of tricking us, or full of electricity and energy that it just kind of stays there, or it can make sense that people would not realize that they're dead and not move on and kind of just be there. And when someone dies tragically and they don't accept wherever they're supposed to go, but it's almost like just a rerun playing kind of thing. Or I grew up living underneath Waverly Hills Sanatorium in Louisville, which is one of the most haunted places in the world, apparently.
I definitely need to come visit you.
Yeah, I mean, it's in my neighborhood. Waverly is in Louisville.
Is it really?
Yeah.
No shit. Wow.
And I lived in the Southwest. It's called Pleasure Ridge Park, and Waverly Hills is part of that area. So all my life, I saw that place up there, and it closed down in '84, and there was just all kinds of satanic ritual rumors and ghost stories. And I've been up there and almost made a movie there. But I've seen stuff up there. But at the same time, I also realized that when you go on the tour there and when you have all these stories, and you're just in general, when you're in a scary place, your mindset is a little open to things, right? And your suggestion and what you feel from the people around you. If you're on a tour, just like in your movie theater, you could feel people's fear.
Yeah.
In a movie theater, you could feel tension. If you go to church and people are feeling the Holy Spirit, you may not, but you feel their energy. You feel what they're putting out. And that's just like, so I think because our bodies and our minds and things can affect other people around us in that way, I think that's part of what paranormal and shit is. It's just kind of energy and just suggestion in our minds trying to make sense of things like deja vu or things like that. There's just all these things we don't really understand. And I think it's just fun to play with. Like I said, I don't necessarily believe Amityville happened, but I enjoy pretending that it did.
Me
it's
too.
a real thing.
Me too. I love talking about Amityville and the possibility of it happening. Any of this stuff. I love ghost stories like the Seven Gates of Hell here in Collinsville. I know Jared's got some gates of hell by him too. There are gates of hell everywhere apparently. But I don't know. It's a fun topic. I guess that's why I think I like these movies. Like even Paranormal Activity, for instance. Those movies I enjoy because of the possibility of something else out there from the beyond or whatever. It's always fun, and I think the Conjuring movies really played with that, and they're based on not reality, but the Warrens' cases. I guess I don't know how the second one for sure. I don't know much about the parents' case. What's the third movie? I haven't even watched the trailer for the third movie yet, so I'm going to go into it completely blind, but I'm very excited about.
It's about a murder, I think. The devil made me do it. I think someone killed somebody, and I guess they were saying maybe they were under. I don't know. I don't want to know either. I want to go into like these cases.
Really look anything up either.
That's what's been cool because I remember. Go ahead.
I was going to say I know, but if you guys don't want to know, I don't.
Don't say anything.
And I remember like reading The Demonologist in the 90s. I don't remember the parent or in it, but the Annabelle case I totally remember from the book. Like that was the standout case from the book that was just really creepy. And I like that they start the movie off with the Annabelle case, which establishes who they are and what they deal with, establishes the rules. He sets up the levels of, I mean, they set up everything. There's a lot of setup payoff in these movies. And I like that they start with the Amityville and the second one, but they haven't made those movies. They focused on these others. Apparently the Perrin case was one that they said that was one of the ones that disturbed them the most, but then they never went public about it. I was listening, the oldest daughter of the Perrins, I think her name's Andrea, she wrote 3 books about her experience because they actually lived there for 10 years.
Oh, they did?
Yeah, they lived there for 10 years, and they said a lot of the stuff in the movie's not, of course, most of it's not real.
Oh, sure, yeah.
A lot of this real stuff, it was too much for them to put into the film. That the family was not that connected. The dad really was, it was kind of a marriage breaking up because the dad would not accept it. She thinks it was a lot of, he felt guilty or didn't know how to control moving his family into harm's way. Like the shit that was going down, he couldn't stop it or control it. And he felt guilty or something. The mother was being like just beaten and messed by these things. Like one of them, like she was beaten up by the house, things in the house. The daughter, I think it was Christine, was the one they said had the worst. The one who was sleepwalking.
Mm.
She was the one that had the most, like, because the oldest daughter really didn't. She says a lot of it didn't affect me. I saw things, I witnessed things, but I never really had a hard time. So she saw it as like 10 of the best years of her life. But her sister Cindy said that was 10 years of the worst years of my life. And the youngest daughter did have that imaginary friend she was heartbroken when she moved finally because she grew up with that imaginary friend in the house. But the real case, she got an interview on YouTube. It's about a 45-minute interview where she talks about the Warrens. The Warrens were not brought to them by, the mother didn't go find the Warrens. The Warrens were told by another family member, a friend of the family, and they just showed up at the house. And because it was that time, the 70s, she just invited them in because it was a cold day or whatever. Mm-hmm. And they investigated. They said the Warrens actually made things worse. The things got worse and more violent after the Warrens came in, and they did a seance. And it got to the point
they're provoking
they're provoked. Yeah. they were doing it, and basically she said my dad hit Ed Lorraine, punched him in the face, and they kicked him out of the house and told him not to come back.
So they didn't solve the problem at all.
No. That's why I love like Ed Warren in the movies is like the man we all want to be. Like he can fix shit. He's like just good-hearted, helping guy. Like he's awesome. He's an awesome guy in the movies. Yeah.
But he's kind of, in real life, he was kind of a scumbag, from what I understand. A lot of gross allegations I don't want to talk about. With I don't know if you've heard those or not, but yeah, I wonder what. I know Lorraine was still alive when this came out, I believe, with the first one.
Yeah, she passed in 19
or
2019. Yeah.
So she might have seen both of them then, I guess. I wonder what she thought of them.
She was a consultant on both, I believe.
Was she?
Yeah.
Oh, that's why they're complete fabrications. Oh yeah, he did that. He almost was stabbed through the back outside of the house. Here's an article to read about the Warrens, an interview with the horror writer they tried to hire. Well, were they the ones also with the Amityville case? Were they saying that it was still haunted too, like the Lutz family?
That's what made them famous, was the Amityville horror investigation.
I don't think they're ever going to make an Amityville movie with them. There's not much there, as far as I know, with those two, because they were only there for a couple of days. I think
they were there. Yeah, they were there after it happened.
Yeah. I don't think we need to see a movie of that. But I also heard that they were hunting a werewolf in one of their stories.
That's what the third movie was supposed to be about, the werewolf guy. Seth, you probably know about that story, maybe. You know about the werewolf investigation?
I don't. I've heard of it. I thought that's what the third one was going to be about, and then I saw the trailer and realized that that's not what they were doing.
Yeah. I think it was in Europe, maybe.
Yeah, I think you're right. I remember hearing about it, but I can't remember. I'm looking it up now to see if I can find it. Warren.
There was something else that reminded me of Amityville in this one. Was it on Eli Roth's new show where they're talking about? I think Stephen King maybe pointed out the scary thing about the Amityville was the financial struggle that the Lutzes were dealing with, and that's when George is like stressed about paying and supporting the family and having the house. Like that's what a lot of the Amityville horror is about financial struggle.
Yeah, they couldn't afford the house.
Yeah, and in Conjuring, there's a scene where we see Ron Livingston at the desk falling asleep. He's definitely probably doing bills or taxes or something. He's a trucker, and he's got his whiskey there or whatever, his liquor. And there's a part where we see him on the phone, like they're taking away his shipments, or he runs. He wants to go on a run. So Ron Livingston's character seems like he's struggling, and a lot of that opens people up to when families are divided, when they're fighting. They say that's when ghosts kind of become vulnerable. Yeah, when there's a break in the family dynamic or there's tension. So I noticed that today when I was watching it, where he was at, the drink, and it's like echoing of George Lutz. The financial woes and the stresses that we go through, that opens people up to it.
The Snedeker family is the one that Paul's talking about from 1986. I can't find the werewolf one, but I swear there is one about a werewolf. They were hunted a werewolf. Didn't they mention it in one of the movies? Maybe they did. And then the second movie, that's the Enfield poltergeist, right?
Enfield poltergeist.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Now,
one of my favorite moments in that movie, the second one, is when the daughter first starts talking like the guy, Bill Wilkins, and she's talking to her, and all of a sudden you hear the voice come behind the sister in the dark, and it cuts to that shot. He's like, "This is my house."
Yeah,
that shit was creepy. Like, there's a lot of creepy moments like that,
especially early on. I mean, some of the movie reminded me of almost like an action movie, but like just the way it was set up. But yeah, that whole interview in the chair was really good, and everything leading up to the Warrens getting there was really, really good. Seth, Is Indigo bothered by the spirits, the unclean spirits? That's what Kathy wants to know.
He's a super needy bitch that needs attention 24/7.
Oh, another cool wonder in part 2, because it comes up with the cool scene, the part where she stays home sick from school with the remote control and
Oh yeah,
all that. That's a wonder where her mom finds her in the chair because she's sitting in the chair at night, and she takes her upstairs. The camera follows them upstairs or to the stairs, and then it comes back. And all of a sudden, they change the lighting. It's daytime, and the camera pulls back, and she's sitting on the couch now.
yeah.
And in the making of, the little girl said that she basically, had to run, put her robe on, run down the stairs, all in that one shot, and be sitting in that spot with her, drink or food or whatever, for them to pull back. So, I mean, it's just fun filmmaking. Like how can we do this without cutting? Because cuts remind you that you're in a movie. Immediately, this is a movie, we're cutting. But if you can do everything in a take, that's the only thing. Like, it's 70s as the movie feels. He tried to make it look like a 70s movie. The movie is very much all steady cam and handheld stuff. It's not a static film. But he does that. He uses that steady cam very well. I mean, he's showing you everything, moving that camera around, following characters. He follows behind people because it's just an effective thing. When you're behind somebody, you're following them into a dark house. Your eyes are going there, and this is really great. The ball coming out of the basement being thrown out, or the train. There's all these little night. I absolutely admire so much that Valak scene with the painting, with the nun's shadow on the wall.
Yeah.
That's
behind
kind of
the painting
effective.
and the hands coming out. That's so fucking cool. Like, and just the scene before that where the daughter's standing in the hallway and goes, "Mom, who's that?" And you turn and there's none at the end of the hallway. Like, this just gives me chills. I don't know. I those movies. I just remember walking out of all the Annabelle movies and that movie. I guess I really liked the Annabelle second movie, the Homecoming or Creation. That was really, really good. But they're exciting. They're like, there's just something fun about a haunted house movie. And I think these are some of the best, up there with Poltergeist and Entity and The Haunting.
Yeah.
And
there's a list for you right there, Nate.
not the original Haunting, but I mean the original Haunting.
No, the original, not the 99 one.
Not the one you're talking about. The
No,
Lily
that one's
Taylor
awful.
But
I adore the original Haunting from '63. That movie is so damn good. Way ahead of its time, in my opinion.
The filmmaking in that film, this is a movie that should be studied, of how good it is. It's just the lighting and the camera movements.
What does the future hold in regards to good horror movies? Tomorrow, The Conjuring, The Devil Made Me Do It. Hopefully it's good. I'm really debating on skipping the HBO Max or whatever it's called to go to the. I may have a chance to go see it. I'd have to wait till Sunday, but I'm really debating on it because I regret not seeing the first two in the theater because they do feel like movies you should see. And that's the thing. It's like, for me, I don't normally go to the theater to see horror movies, but I feel like I want to get back to that because I used to have a lot of fun doing it. And
a movie like this, because it's so like that surround sound really helps pay off those movies, because it's so much. Horror movie is so much about sound.
Yeah.
And especially stuff like I saw A Quiet Place 2 last week, and a movie like this.
Oh, how was that, by the way?
It was great. I liked it a lot.
So,
the sound design is just so important to horror films.
The buzzing's back.
That is your AC, isn't it? Is that a window unit, or is that a?
No, it's an actual unit. I'm just right outside the window of it.
That's funny. The ghost is back. Yeah.
The future for me is James Wan's new movie that's coming out, Malignant. I don't know if you guys have heard of that.
No.
They're actually keeping a lot of it under wraps. There's not even a trailer out for it. It's supposed to be coming out on HBO Max and theaters in September. There's not even really a plot on it. From what I've heard, done research, it's a homage to giallo Italian slashers.
Oh, well.
Oh, cool, man. I'm looking forward to that and Antlers. Whenever we
Antlers.
finally get that movie.
Oh yeah,
Finally.
we've been waiting for that for a while, haven't we?
It's been a
Oh,
while.
well over a year.
And then Edgar Wright's new movie.
Oh, what's that?
Was it Last Night in Soho? Have you seen
Oh,
the
that's
trailer
a
for
horror
that?
movie?
Yeah, it's a horror. You haven't seen the trailer?
No, I with horror movies lately, I've been like, I did a with Army of the Dead, I did a what is it, a reaction video or whatever. I was gonna start doing that, but then like when I saw the movie, I sat there, I was like, God damn, man, a lot of the stuff that was in the trailer was in the movie, and it kind of ruined it for me a little bit. And so I'm like, maybe I don't want to watch trailers anymore for horror movies. Like superhero movies, I don't give a shit about watching the trailers, But like horror movies, I feel like maybe not watching the trailer will take me, because watching the Conjuring trailer and finding out the second one, finding out exactly what it was about, I went straight to look up the Enfield horror case and started reading all about it. So I knew what I was getting into going into it. And I have not looked up anything about this third one because I kind of want to be like, I don't want to know what's going on. I trust James Wan, I trust the Conjuring movies, so it's like I'm going to see it. So maybe in The Quiet Place, I haven't watched the trailer for that either. So I will. I take that back. I took to watch the one from last year, but I don't even remember anything about it except for there's a scene at the beginning where it's John Krasinski from before everything happened. That's all I remember from it. But so yeah, I'm kind of wanted to go in fresh with some of these. You know what I'm saying? Like I remember Adam Driver, who I think is a fantastic actor. I love him to death. I remember he said that you should not watch a trailer for The Last Jedi. They shouldn't even release one. You should go in and see it. I'm glad they did because that movie. But I'm just saying, I think trailers can ruin movies. I think look what it did to Terminator, not Genesis. I mean, they ruined the whole fucking movie in Terminator Genesis. They messed up TBS too.
That was stupid. I don't know what they were thinking when they put that trailer out. Hey, here's our seats. Here's our.
I mean, they the big twist in the movie. They showed it in a trailer. It's like, what are you doing? Like, I was gonna go see this. Now I don't want to. It's like
I had someone. I heard someone said with my new trailer, like, I have no idea what that movie's about. I'm like, yeah, that's the point. Like, I don't want you to know. Like, when I saw the Witch trailer, I didn't know what the hell that movie was about. I said, this looks fucking great. It was all about atmosphere. I'm trying to sell you what. Did it creep you out? That's
come back to that, Scott. Yeah, it's what Nate. But you have to watch trailers sometimes. The Witch I saw and I was like, that looks like a movie for me. Like Midsummer, I would have never seen it if I didn't watch a trailer and stuff. That looks like something I'll really enjoy. You know what I'm saying? Like, so sometimes you need to watch the trailers, but for like movies that like from a series, I may want to hold back on watching a trailer. You know what I'm saying? Like. But Scott said, "Have you ever seen The Legend of Hell House?" Yes.
Yeah, the
fantastic.
Richard Matheson movie.
Yeah, really good one. Love a good giallo, so do I. I'm curious about giallos, Nate. How many have you seen? Do you think? Are you just strictly with some Argento stuff, or have you seen? I've seen Strip Nude for Your Killer.
I've done Blu-ray covers for some of them that that are not Dario.
We should do a whole episode on giallo.
I've seen at least 10, but I dig them, but I never like. It's more like I said, I appreciate the artistry in them, but I don't like. I kind of feel it's like looking at a pretty painting after a while, but I don't feel like I'm getting much out of them. But that's just me. I don't know.
That's cool. Deep Red Torso and Tenebra.
Oh, great.
Yep. Yeah, but anyway, I'm really looking forward to seeing the next movie. I don't know how excited you guys are. I think Nate and I might be the most excited. I think this might be the first horror movie I've seen. Army of the Dead was barely a horror movie in my opinion, but like new horror movie that I've seen since the what was that movie fucking Invisible Man last year.
That was the last one I saw till last weekend.
Yeah, well, I'm either going to try to see that if I can, because I'm going to take Reynolds, I think. But he's interested in seeing A Quiet Place too, so it's one of those two that I'm going to get to see this weekend. So I'm pretty excited to get back to the theater. Jared, have you gone back yet?
Yeah, I went and saw Spyro a couple weeks back.
You son of a bitch!
Y'all,
I'm the last one. How was that?
I enjoyed it.
Seth liked it too. Seth, use your word.
I thought it was a dot different. You know, everybody was coming into expecting a body count, and it kind of was a totally different movie. It kind of gave me vibes of the original Saw, but I mean, it felt it gave you a different perspective. Where in the cops in a lot of the Saw movies, you didn't really give that much of a shit about, but you like it's from their perspective for the most part in this movie, and it's more of a procedural. And I think that was what made it more effective for me, at least.
There is a new Halloween coming out in October, and I'm sure we'll do a show on that, right? Whenever that comes out. When is that coming out, Seth?
October 15th.
Yeah, he has that right there ready for you.
He's probably got like a clicker in the background.
Did you guys see his comment on? I asked our followers, "What do you think of the Conjuring movies?" And he said they're stupid. There is no Michael Myers. What's the point?
Just like Halloween 3.
Yeah.
Dumpster fire, no Michael Myers.
So I had a heated conversation about Halloween 3 with somebody at work yesterday. It was weird. So this new guy at work, he likes horror movies, and he's like, I'm a big fan of Halloween. I was like, oh, yeah, which ones are your favorite? He's like, well, I love Halloween 2018 and Halloween 2. I was like, cool. What do you think about Halloween 3? He's like, oh, it's fucking garbage. I'm like, why? And he goes, well, there's no Michael Myers. I'm like, he's in it. He says, yeah, but that was a commercial. I'm like, come on. And I think I turned him to watch it again, give it another shot, and take that Michael Myers mentality out of your brain and try watching it that way. But for the most part, it seems like, other than Seth, most of the people that commented seem to like these movies, mostly the first one. I think it's Keith, our old buddy. It's like the only one who really he loves the second Conjuring. We should have had him come on the show. He's a big fan of the Crooked Man. I can see why. He's creepy as fuck. Helena watched that with me. My 7-year-old daughter watched The Conjuring 2 with me. She loved it. Did I tell you she wants to go as Carol Ann for Halloween this year?
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, my daughter was watching them with me. She had never seen them, and she was, she's a filmmaker in training, so she's like picking all the like learning from it and pointing out what they're doing and the storyline, the story setups and payoffs, things like that. It's like, oh, they put that there. Oh, I bet that's coming back and things like that. So, like, you're gonna be
Nate Jr.
You're gonna be a force to be reckoned with when you get older.
She sounds like she already is. That's
she
good.
already is. Yeah,
Dude.
it's but she knows when it works. It's like I was talking to somebody today about that. Some guy was talking about Hereditary and how people were saying it was a piece of shit, worst movie I've ever seen, dumpster fire, all that crap. And I was talking about how, look, not everything's going to work for you. Not everything's going to connect with you. But it's like, you know when the recipe is good. You know when the person's done a good job. And that's the thing I wish people would acknowledge. Like, I always bring up Blade Runner. I've never loved Blade Runner. I just cannot get into it. But it is, I have no problem saying it's one of the 5 greatest science fiction films ever made. Because I've seen the influence. I've seen the skill that Ridley Scott has, the art direction, all those things. It's a masterpiece. Even though I don't love it, I could say it's a masterpiece and be fine. But the people now is like, if I don't dig it, if I'm not a ghost guy or a found footage guy or a whatever, then it's shit. And it's just, that's just not, like, no. It's like, because the guy said he never liked Clockwork Orange, but he understands how genius Kubrick is and that it may not be his thing. But yeah, like the people who are like, oh, fuck The Shining, it's a piece of shit because Stephen King doesn't like it. It's not a reason to say that Stanley Kubrick is a hack, Yeah. Like, it's just not accurate. You don't have to like Stanley Kubrick to recognize that 2001 changed fucking cinema and changed the way filmmakers started making films. I mean, there probably wouldn't have been a Star Wars or an Alien or a
That's
Blade
true.
Runner or any of that without 2001. So you don't have to love everything. You don't have to be a big fan, but you have to recognize where things come from. You have to know your history if you're going to really, like someone the other day was talking about, I don't like the Beatles and Bob Dylan. Like, that's fine. You don't have to love their music, but you realize how important they were to music. And and so many bands and so many artists and so many musicians, they innovated a lot of stuff. The Beatles were inspired by Bob Dylan. Bob Dylan was, all these things. Woody Guthrie. You got to go back. You got to be able to know. You can't just say I'm going to just like heavy metal unless you knew where metal came from. You can't say I'm just going to like slasher films unless you watch the Giallo films and the
That's
things
true.
that inspired it. So
I don't think people even realize that.
Yeah. So, expand your horizons. You don't have to love everything, but you can at least acknowledge. You don't look at someone like Ari Aster or somebody like that, or Jordan Peele, and say that they're a hack or shit, they suck, while you're watching cheap movies that you give a pass to and call masterpieces when they're just poorly made movies. So James Wan is probably, arguably, the top horror filmmaker of today. Would you say?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, I've only seen Saw, Dead Silence, and the 2 Conjuring movies. Those are the only ones he's responsible for.
Well, he
right?
did Insidious too.
Yeah, that's right.
Fuck.
Insidious was brilliant in my opinion.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
I've said that, like, this guy's responsible for 3 of the biggest franchises in horror history.
Yeah, and Patrick Wilson's in 2 of them.
Yeah, and because someone a while back said, "Who's the new John Carpenter?" First of all, why do we need a new John Carpenter? But who is it? Someone said James Wan, and everybody laughed. Oh, no way, no way. And I'm like, well, who is if it isn't James Wan?
Yeah, who else would there be?
And why should he not be as accepted as John Carpenter was? I mean,
well, James
he's
Wan,
a technician as well,
right? He's fantastic. I mean, everything I've seen, I've liked, and not just the horror movies. The Aquaman was really good, and Fast and Furious movie he made was probably one of the better of the newer movies, anyway. Although those movies aren't that good anyway. But in my opinion, they're fun.
Nobody wants to give modern filmmakers credit. You'll hear them say, "Oh, the millennials." Like, well, he's a fucking Gen Xer, first of all, and most of the filmmakers working today are Gen X filmmakers. They grew up on the same horror movies that we all love and worship.
I think James Wan is probably the best horror director now, and for the last decade and a half, probably. I can't think of anybody else offhand that I can. I mean, who else could you put in that group? I mean, you could probably pick a director from each decade. I mean, Wes Craven did it for a long time, and Carpenter did it for a long time. And James Wan is now doing it for a long time.
You could throw Aja in there, but I mean, he put out a couple of turds, kind of. But I mean,
what are his turds?
I was not a fan of Piranha. I love it, but I mean, come on, it was not great.
Yeah,
I personally loved it. I saw it in the theater.
I love Aja, but he's kind of fallen into that remake thing. Like, he just did a whole lot of remakes. Like, what the fuck? Come on. Horns was the most original thing he'd done in a while, and I was like, I loved it, but no one talks about Horns. Mm-hmm. I don't know why. It's Joe Hill. I was like, why is it this bigger? Because it's excellent.
Did you say Horns?
Yeah.
You made Horns?
Yeah.
Damn, that's a good movie. It's a good ass movie.
And I thought Crawl was just a great, fun summer thriller.
Yeah.
Action movie.
Popcorn movie.
But I think the big contender. I mean, we've got guys like Eggers and Aster and Peele, but I don't think those guys are going to hang out in horror and be horror guys, because they're not really big fans of the genre itself. But
Jordan Peele is.
Well, Jordan is.
Yeah.
But Mike Flanagan is the dark horse.
Oh yes, but he's not just doing film; he's doing shows,
television,
and series. And Mike Flanagan. I always forget to bring him up, but he's got to be a top 5 guy in the last 2 decades. Has to be. There's your homework for tonight, Nate. Make a list of the top 10 horror directors of the last 2 decades. I know you're going to do it. You're going to do it anyway. So
gotta stay busy somewhere.
Yeah. Right. Because I'm curious. I mean, that's I'm curious to see what you say
Well,
because you see more movies than any of those, I think.
Well, it's hard to do that because some of the best horror films ever made were not made by horror directors.
Right.
Like, I don't call William Friedkin a horror director, or
Spielberg.
Spielberg or Kubrick,
Yeah.
or De Palma, really. I mean, De Palma made a lot of thrillers.
Right.
But, like, a lot of the great filmmakers were not horror filmmakers. They made a horror. Even John Carpenter, maybe 30% of his filmography are actually horror films. I mean, and he's called the master of horror, but he made just as many sci-fi movies or action movies. They did horror.
Justin Russell made one movie, didn't he? The Sleeper. Ty West. I like Ty West. Go ahead, Seth. Roger Corman. Seth, were you going to say something?
No, I was just agreeing with Nate
Oh.
about Carpenter, how he's much more versatile than people give him credit for.
Oh,
He's
yeah.
not just
Well,
he's
I
not
mean,
just strictly horror. He started off with a sci-fi satire, a parody of 2001: A Space Odyssey, and then he did a exploitation action movie, throwback western, and
what
then
is
he
that
did a
movie?
I've never called Carpenter the king of horror, and I've always called him
Master of Horror.
I think he's the greatest genre director of all time.
absolutely
Makes genre films. He can do the science fiction, the horror, the thriller, the comedy.
Just look at his filmography from the 80s. He made sci-fi horror. He made whatever Big Trouble in Little China is.
Yeah.
For me, it's an eye-rolling movie.
But his hero Hawks was a guy who did all kinds of different stuff. You know, the classic directors they kind of did just go western, drama, comedy, pulp, noir, horror, sci-fi. I mean, I think John is just a really good technician. You could give him any genre and he'll produce something worth watching.
He's responsible.
Elvis.
Yeah,
Elvis was
I was going
great.
to say he's responsible for what, like 25 movies or so, and I mean, Memoirs of an Invisible Man is not a horror movie, right?
right.
It's horrible, but no, I'm joking. I like that movie. I'm just joking. I just wanted to, horrible. No, yeah, I mean, he's probably just like James Wan. He's that. So maybe Carpenter is. Wan is the new Carpenter because I think he's just as versatile because. I mean, John Carpenter made that exploitation movie that I'll never see, and then he made the sci-fi movie, and you got James Wan who made the Fast and the Furious action, high action movie, and then he made a superhero movie, and he's making a horror movie. I think James Wan and Carpenter, I think that's a pretty balanced.
And a lot of his movies are just balanced, and they're westerns in another genre.
Yeah,
a lot of John Wayne type movies, a lot of John Ford type
vampires
stuff. But yeah, I mean that's
James Woods
cool.
is John Wayne.
Snake. What's his name? Is total. Jack Burton is totally John.
Oh,
he's a guy who thinks he's John Wayne. Basically, everything Kurt Russell does in that movie. Like I love that. Like what I love about Big Trouble in Little China is that Jack thinks he's the hero of this movie, and it's really the sidekick guy he's really the sidekick. He's the one that never fucking he's the one always bumbling and messing everything up and not really getting knocked out. But he thinks he's the hero. That's what's a fun thing about that character is that he's the tall, good-looking American rugged guy. He's talking like John Wayne, but it's really his buddy who's the hero badass of the movie.
I'm still confused of why I don't like that movie. I'm not sure what it is about that movie that didn't hit with. I keep thinking it's because I didn't see it when I was younger, and a lot of people saw it when they were kids and loved it when they were kids. Starman is a very underrated and very charming. Yeah,
I love that movie. I grew up on that one, man.
Yeah,
I'll probably watch that more than anything.
That movie, that was the first time I ever saw my mom cry was when she was watching Starman. So yeah, I get it. It's a good John Carpenter. I mean, look,
I got a chair. I don't know if I got a chair from the set of that movie.
Oh wow,
that's
cool. How did you get that?
I found it at a peddler ball, and it's not. There's no real like famous person's name on the back. It's somebody I don't know whose name it is. But yeah, I found that for like $30 at a peddler mall.
Seth will probably steal it. Don't invite him over.
It rips though.
As obsessed with Carpenter he is, he might take that. All right, well, let's wrap up the show. Unfortunately, we didn't talk about The Conjuring as much. We got off on a tangent again and other stuff, which is fine. I enjoy that. I'll just ask one question. Are you excited, Jared, for the next movie? Are you going to be there watching it tomorrow? Are you going to go to the theater and watch it? What are you going to do?
I'll probably watch it from the comfort of my own home. But for this one, I think.
Same question, Seth. Well, hold on. Are you excited about it, or are you just kind of?
So I'm not very excited about it. The trailer didn't do anything for me, and I was kind of skeptical too because James Wan is not directing it.
Mm-hmm.
It's directed by the guy that made Curse of La Lorna.
Which I haven't watched that yet, but I've heard that's not too bad.
Yeah. And then just the way it looks, I mean, I don't know. I'm going to give it a shot. I'm going to go see it. I want to see it in the theater just because I want to support movie theaters and all that. But I don't know. My weekend plans have changed a little bit, so I might have to watch it here with the kids.
Yeah.
But
with the kids.
They seen the other two?
Yeah, they love them.
Yeah, my son loved the first one. My daughter liked the second one. He didn't sit for the second one, so we'll have to see. I think ghost story movies like this are good for not good for children necessarily, but I do think the younger folk like these.
Well, that's something to bring up. Is this movie is rated R, but there's no nudity, there's no cursing, there's no it was. The MPA gave it a rated R because of how scary it was. They said it's just too scary. Yeah. They wanted it PG-13, but the MPA said it's too scary. That's what we're giving you an R for scares, for how scary it is.
What were you going to say, Seth?
I think the reason why kids like them, especially, is because they have characters they can relate to in them. Because they are about, they are about the kids going through the experiences for the most part.
Just like we like movies like Monster Squad and Goonies and Whitewater Summer,
Yeah,
that's a great movie. I had to buy it on Vudu. I love it. That's a good point, though, Seth. Nate, what about you? Are you going to watch it in the theater or at your home? Are you excited?
I'm really torn because I want to see it in the theater, but I spent a lot of money going to the theater last week for A Quiet Place. And
how much? It's expensive, right? How expensive it is.
I paid for the big theater, because I wanted the biggest room because of COVID and all that shit. And it was. I'd like to, but also Wonderfest is this weekend. I'm going to take my daughter to that. Which is like a modeling horror convention here in Louisville. It's been going on for 30-something years. Greg Nicotero is going to be there, and things. So that's where I met Greg a couple of years. It's one of his favorite shows because it's laid back. It's like old school. It's not like most conventions. It's not really celebrity driven. They only bring in a couple people. Greg likes to do it because it's like Godzilla, Universal, Harryhausen kind of centric. It's a modeling old school show, so the audience is a little older, a little more laid back, and they're just collectors. They just buy things. And
a dirt mall.
Not a dirt mall. It's a fun. But I mean, you could say like the way comic book conventions used to be. That audience, the people who are there for the comics, kind of. These people are there for the models and the stuff.
Dude, those are coming back around here. We have one-day conventions like that where it's all about comics. It's all about like buying, selling, trading, back issues and stuff. I miss those days. That's cool. Hey, why don't you see if he wants to come on the show? Greg,
I was going, hey.
I'd probably shoot a brick.
That would be fun.
But I'll probably end up watching the movie tomorrow night. Just save money, and because I'm going to spend money at Wonderfest, and I didn't get to go last year. I think it was the first time I hadn't been in a good 20 years. So
yeah, we know the longing for conventions. I know I am. I'm still debating on Horror Hound if I want to go. I'll be completely vaccinated. Yes, I'm getting vaccinated. Nate is vaccinated. I don't know if you other two are, but
I might have rabies. I need to get vaccinated.
Seth definitely has rabies fucking around with all the werewolves. anyway, yeah, check out The Conjuring. The Devil Made Me Do It on HBO Max, or head out to the theater and support the theaters. We all need to start doing that more. And the closer I get to being vaccinated, the more confidence I'll have in going to the theater, because I really want to go. I totally miss it, mostly for the popcorn, I think. But it's my favorite thing about going to the theaters. Next week, we're supposed to do a review of The Conjuring 3, but I don't know if I'm not 100% sure if we're going to do that, because if we don't like it as much, we may not want to talk about it. So we'll leave it up in the air for now. The week after that, we're doing our top 25 70s movies. And at some point, we're doing a Texas Chainsaw Massacre Next Generation watch party commentary. That is going to be out of control. So, hey, all right, man. I am too. I'm almost there, halfway there, and I'm proud of it too. It's nothing to be ashamed of. Anyway, for Jared, Seth, and Nate, we will see you next week with a new show. Same bat time, same bat channel. Subscribe to the Horror Syndicate on YouTube, and we'll see y'all later. Goodbye.